I'm completely lost now. Okay, so we just came to the last part of this conference, which I hope you all enjoyed very much. And this part is a kind of ceremony where we will be giving or awarding prizes to researchers in the community which have gone through a long process of competition. But before that, the custom wants the president of the chairman of the board to summarize the whole conference. And I have 5 minutes. So, okay, I'll try to do something, and please be indulgent, because this is indeed a very, very difficult task. So let me say in a few words what I personally take away from this conference, which I found extremely interesting, very rich, very deep in its implications for the way we think today about research, about policy, about the future, about sustainability. We discussed many things. I'm afraid that we don't have definite answers to many questions which were asked, but if we don't ask the question, we'll never have an answer. So the starting point is to ask the question. I think it is interesting to think about the discussion that we had since Wednesday, in terms of, sorry about this, I mean the model that economists cannot dispense with, which is a demand and supply model. And I think it is interesting to think about research in terms of demand supply, especially when we think about research in connection with development, in connection with sustainability. So on the demand side, we certainly have the development policy and all the people who deal with development policy or with sustainability. Sustainability meaning not only physical sustainability, but also social stability and economic sustainability, which are extremely important. And on the supply side, we have the community of researchers, which may be academics, think tanks. And when we think about the conditions of the supply, we have also to think about the infrastructure that is available for these researchers, in particular the data they can work with, something that has been quite prominent in our discussion, something about the incentives that they are given to do good research and to do research which has relevance. And this is more or less, all this is more or less obvious, but I think something which came out of the discussion that we had, that between these demand and supply agents, we have other agents which are doing the intermediation. And those are the politicians. These are the people who will be using the research that is available and transforming that research in decision-making. And this means, and it is quite important, that it is not the case that a research will immediately feed into a policy. There is something in between, which is the collective decision-making, and it will depend on the kind of political organization that does exist in a country, but this is certainly a key part of the whole system. So I think that with this kind of framework in mind, I would like to make 4 sets of remarks taken from what we heard over the last couple of days. First, what kind of research? What I've just described will apply to many types of research, and there is always a big debate, and we had it here, between blue sky research, something that all researchers, academic researchers at least, would like. I mean, don't tell me about application. I want to find new things. I want to explore new territory. This is the way in which I will validate my profession or my being a researcher, and the way in which I will be praised by my peer researchers. This is an important debate, and in many cases, policy makers don't see very well what the application of research is, but the application, for example, I mean, at some stage in the discussion, somebody mentioned that some researchers, good researchers, could publish in the top journals. In economics, the top journal, one of the top journals is Econometrica. And if you go to read Econometrica, if you are not a top-notch researcher today, I can tell you that you won't understand anything. I mean, I quit personally reading Econometrica for quite some time after having published a long time ago in this journal. But yet, what is in this journal is important. It is important because in those journals they are developing tools that will allow us to go more easily from observation to the principles, to mechanisms which are important for policy making. So I don't think that we should really say, okay, we should favor one type of research versus another. This is part of what research is in general. You have the same kind of dilemma between people saying, okay, we don't want universal research. We want to have country-specific research. Yes, we certainly need country-specific research, but that does not mean that in some cases, universal in the sense research applied, which can be applied to many countries, will not be very important. So what is difficult in all this is, should we intervene and should we guide the type of research being done? I think that this is quite debatable. And I believe that one point which has been mentioned, and I think it is quite important, and to some extent it relates very well with GDN, is the fact that a community of researchers is what matters. It is a community that can collectively decide of what is important, what is less important. Of course, that community must be in contact with policymakers, with decision makers, but this community must be running to some extent the way research is being done. And this is very important because one thing that is missing in many developing countries, in particular in low-income countries, is precisely that community. It is missing because there are not many resources to pay for researchers, and in particular to pay for researchers who would be doing things that the society and the politicians would not recognize as directly relevant for their own preoccupations. Because we don't have this dynamic community, there are benefits to be expected from research which do not show up. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is because, I mean, this part of this conference is precisely that to have this community at the global level, linking national researchers through global links, the way this conference is trying to do, the way the Global Development Network is trying to do, is absolutely essential. And I think that we would be missing something if we were forgetting this global aspect of research. We know that research is something which is global. If a new discovery is made in a country, probably this has an application in another country. We know also that what has been found in a country or in a group of countries, if we want to apply it to another country, needs some adaptation. And because of that, we need people who understand that. But this global community and the kind of capacity building that is provided by that community is something which is absolutely essential. And I believe this is a big message of this conference. The second point, and I promise I will be short. The second point is about the nexus between policy and research. I think that something which came out of the discussion, that when we say that policymakers need evidence in order to make decisions, this was the point I was making a little earlier. We will never find evidence that will completely justify a policy. What we have, what the knowledge is, what research is providing are pieces of evidence. And pieces of evidence in the sense that something will be working in a given context and will not be working in another context. If you decide tomorrow to do expansionary fiscal policy, it will work if you have some unused capacity and unused people. But if you are in full employment, it will not do anything. So, and whether growth is generated by more demand or growth is generated by more supply, it depends on what the situation is in a country. So what we have to realize is that what research is providing to politicians who will make decisions is this set of pieces of evidence, and then it is the job of the researchers and the politicians to figure out how to use this set of evidence and to take into account the context in which they are. So there is an aspect which escapes to some extent research, which is the way politicians may appropriate the set of evidence available in the portfolio of researchers and to use it for a final decision. So I think this this intermediation between research and policy is something which is absolutely essential. And this is also shows that there is a need for a permanent dialogue between politicians and researchers. And from that point of view, and this is something which has been alluded to once or twice over the last couple of days, this idea of councils of advisors, of economic advisors coming from the research community is something which is important, because this is exactly the way in which research, the whole body of research can be made available to politicians. This is something that they absolutely need. My third point is about evaluation. We had this session this morning. Evaluation is definitely something important, but evaluation has very many dimensions, and we would be wrong in simply focusing in one dimension. It turns out that today, when somebody is using the word evaluation, and if moreover this word is combined with the word impact, immediately people are thinking about randomized controlled trials, experimentation, quasi-experimentation, etc. This is fine, and there is big progress which has been made thanks to this. And we should continue, and we should continue exploring policies with this kind of tool. But evaluation is much more than that. Evaluation is how well a policy has been working. Try to understand why a policy led to results, to specific results. Is it due to the context? Is it possible out of that to measure some key parameter which determine the efficacy of the policy? This is part of evaluation. And is it research? Yes, it is research, because out of this experience, we are trying to learn as much as possible from all types of experience. So it is not an experiment, because we don't have any control group. We don't have any counterfactual, but it is an experiment in the sense that we are trying to learn lessons from a practical experience. And the evaluation from that point of view is something important and must be understood in a very much wider way, broader way than RCTs and the like. And my final point is about the discussion that took place yesterday about technological change. We are, of course, at a time where technical change is very quick. And what matters with technical change are two things. On the one hand, and there was a lot of emphasis on this yesterday, it is true that technical change is providing new tools. And we will be able to do things in the future, and we're already able to do things today that we could not do in the past, simply because of the big data available, because of machine data, I mean satellite data, because of artificial intelligence, because of machine learning. It is true that our toolbox is expanding very, very much, and this means that we'll be able to do very, very different and much more powerful research. It is not always that simple. But, when we think, for example, about big data are not random data, are not random samples. So it's slightly more difficult. But it is true that this is opening up new possibilities. But more important, I believe, is the fact that the technical change is changing the society and is changing behavior. And this is quite important in the sense that this means that many things that we thought we knew about economic, sociological, psychological behavior may change basically because of this technology, basically because of all this information that is flowing around in our societies through social networks, etc., etc. And this is a very interesting area, of course, for research, because it is a task of researchers, maybe blue sky or more applied people, to try to figure out the way in which this digitalization is changing the way in which our societies are behaving and are moving away. And this is important for sustainability. This is important for development. So, sorry to have been a bit long, but you knew that it would be impossible to summarize those few days in a few minutes. But I would like simply to conclude by saying that this has been very rich days. Personally, I can say that I learned a lot, and many of the sessions that I attended made me think much more about issues which I thought I knew very, very well. And I hope that it is the same thing for you, and that you'll go home richer in terms of knowledge and understanding of our society than when you came to Bonn. So I stop here this summary, and now I switch to a completely different exercise, which is this award ceremony. So you know that since the beginning, since the inception, the GDN has been trying to incentivize research in developing countries through different types of prizes. And GDN could count with the generosity of the Japanese government. And the first award that we'll be distributing are due to the Japan help to GDN, the Japanese Award for Outstanding Research on Development. Now, since its beginning, GDN has awarded a total amount of $4 million in research and project grants to the finalists of that competition. Over time, it is almost 9,000 researchers who have been competing to get those prizes. And more than 200 awards have been distributed until now, and we will be awarding today 3 additional ones. So there will be 3 prizes. The first prize is for an amount of $45,000. The second one for, $45,000. Okay. I guess that the finalists, suddenly, we are very happy. So the first prize is 30,000. Okay. The second one, 10,000, and the third one, 5,000. But because we award these prizes, I would like to ask Mrs. Omo from JICA, from Japan, to tell us a few words about those awards. And in any case, we thank you very much for your generosity. Please.
Thank you very much. My name is Izumi Ono. I'm a director of the JICA Research Institute of Japan. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy and honored to participate in this prize award ceremony and to share a word with you. And first of all, I really would like to extend my sincere appreciation to the organizer of GDN 2019 the Global Development Conference, especially Dr. Francois Bourguignon and also Dr. Pierre Jacquet and also their team. I'm very grateful for cordial also support extended by the German federal government, BMZ, Foreign Office, and the city of Bonn, and the German state of Northern Rhine-Westphalia, as well as the DIE and DBAL, and the United Nations University for hosting this conference in such a beautiful city in Bonn, and also intellectual environment to think about our common future for sustainable development. I think GDN offers opportunities which a single research institute cannot provide, such as this conference. We highly value the GDN's convening capacity, namely as a knowledge facilitator or knowledge broker for development, which support the creation of globally anchored, as Francois said, local knowledge, and the capacity building of local development research institutions. And then the theme of this year's conference is a knowledge for sustainable development, the research policy nexus. And I think this is a very important special year because that the GDN is commemorating 20th anniversary. And then we have really take stock of achievement and also thinking about the future role in a more complex and dynamically changing world characterized by the technology advance, new power balance among South, North, and emerging economies with more diverse knowledge bases. But I think it's important to confirm that everybody here all share a strong aspiration and commitment to sustainable development. And coming from JICA Research Institute is a research wing of Japan International Cooperation Agency, which is a Japanese bilateral development cooperation agency. We attach high importance on linking the knowledge, information, and data accumulated through development cooperation activities with practical development policy and actions in developing countries. So making a difference in, we always talk about Gemba, that is a place where actual real things are happening, is our strong motto. And also we try to contribute by using that information and knowledge globally to make some broader differences. And so I think in this sense, I really highly value the mission of GDN and wishes for its further enhancement, taking account of this current context for the changing world of knowledge and development. Let me turn to this award. Since around 2000, with many years of continuous implementation, the Japanese award competition for outstanding research on development is a proven success initiative to promote developing countries' experience in implementing high-quality research. I'm very pleased that many of the award winners in the past made an important contribution to your own country and also globally in light of GDN's mission. And I sincerely hope by using prize money and also subsequent mentoring provided by GDN expert. So I really wish sincerely that this will be also carried on continuously by this year's award winners, which will be announced very soon. And then personally, during the last 2 days and a half, we discussed a lot and learned a lot. Particularly, I feel like many people talk about the importance to go beyond the silos of our individual discipline. And I'm glad to tell you that all of this year's finalists are very much mindful of reaching out to various stakeholders and have proposed such research topics as how to effectively outreach to evidence-based results to policymakers, and also what is the role of social media in research production, how can we effectively engage non-academic also stakeholders in the process. So, on behalf of the Ministry of Finance, the government of Japan, I really would like to thank all the applicants, especially the finalists of the award. I really thank you, distinguished members of the selection committee, for your commitment and dedication. So I think that I should end here because I think many people are waiting for the announcement of the award. And also I want to congratulate for the finalists. So let me move on the ceremony. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Omo. Maybe before announcing the names and the order of the winners, maybe one word about the process through which we got those finalists. So we received 102 submissions from 32 different countries, and a third of which were researchers from low-income countries. Then there was a process. I mean, there was a committee which read all those submissions. And I would like to thank this committee, who was headed by Patrick Guillaumont, and which comprised Shanta Devarajan, Charlotte Galloway, Mrs. Ono, and John Young. And now it's time. So the three finalists for this year's awards, you know, I mean, it's like the nominees in the Oscar ceremony. So I first name the finalists. So Emmanuel Yudhuiko from the Philippines with a project entitled Exploring Philippine Use of Evidence-Based Research to Influence Public Health Policy. Saravana Ajay Kumar from India on the effective use of social media to produce, disseminate, and enhance uptake of developmental research, a multi-method study. And Ruizal Rusli from Malaysia on the role of practitioners in web-based communication for post-disaster reconstruction project in Southeast Asia. Ruizal Rusli is not with us today because of personal reasons. Now, as a matter of fact, Ruizal Rusli got the third prize. So let's applaud her. So I should have added that the order of the prizes from 1 to 3 was decided on the basis of the presentation that the three finalists made in this conference. Okay, so this is rather recent news. So the second prize is going to Saravana Ajay Kumar. So Saravana, if you want to come here, maybe you want to say, don't do what I did before. I mean, speak for 1 minute. Please. You want to say a few words?
So thanks to GDN for this opportunity. So our research work has already been neatly described by President Francois. So with the Technometrica example, what we're trying to do is leverage social media to enhance dissemination and uptake of development research. So we're using multiple methods towards this particular objective, right? So we're confident we'll be able to contribute to knowledge for sustainable development. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And of course, the first prize goes to Emmanuel Yuriko. Okay, Emmanuel, if you want to say a few words.
I too would like to thank the GDN as well and all of the organizers for inviting me. And for me, it was somewhat of a surprise to end up here because I only joined my current employer in July when they made the announcement for this particular competition. So me and my co-author worked at it for quite a while, and quite surprisingly, we made it all the way to the final. And to even win the top prize is quite a wonderful thing. And I thank you all for helping discuss how we can improve this research, so we can maximize and improve the health outcomes in the Philippines. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel, and we guess that your employer will be especially pleased to see that so quickly you got such results. So now we get to another competition, which is the youth competition results, which is about the young people who have contributed with their ideas on why sustainable development research matters. In partnership with Global Dev, which is a blog on development that matters and development that works, and the Bonn Alliance for Sustainability Research and their innovation campus in Bonn, GDN asked a young researcher under 30 to explore and share their faith in developing a sound knowledge base and engaging in high-quality, sustainable development research. The result has been a fantastic blog series on Global Dev, and for them, a trip to Bonn that allows them to engage and participate in this conference. On this, I would like to invite Jacob Riner, who is the research director in the Bonn Alliance for Sustainability Research at the Innovation Campus in Bonn, to tell us a bit more about the competition and to announce the result of the youth blog competition. Jacob.
Thank you very much, François. Just let me say that what the Bonn Alliance is, or maybe repeat for some of you. The Bonn Alliance is a group of 6 research institutions connected to sustainability research. The University of Bonn with the Center for Development Research, the United Nations University, the University of Applied Sciences, also you see very different universities, the Bonn International Center for Conversion, which is a peace and conflict research institute here in Bonn, and the German Development Institute. All of these 6 institutions are basing their work heavily on young people. So there is certainly more than 1,000 or many thousand young people, and we had to think about whether we should exclude them from this competition. Our answer was a definite no. We would accept them for this competition, but the evaluation committee had nothing to do with the Alliance. So this was the founding editors of Global Dev, the director of the conference here, and a group of international scholars which were independent. Many thanks to this organizing committee. Just let me say, first of all, say that the start of the Alliance, actually, which was taking place at the end of last year, was made possible by the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, which is represented by State Secretary Dr. Speich, which will shortly join the floor here. Just let me say why we had this idea with a blog competition for the youth. The reason is quite simple. As we have seen in this conference, many ideas, not all, but many new ideas come from the side of the youth. There have been so many interesting and nice interventions. You can go to other fields outside ours. The announcement about the really big progress in quantum computation 2 days ago. If you go to the authors list, there are more than 20. It's a huge collaboration, and it's a youth festival, actually. There are so many young researchers there, and I think this is another proof that it's really worth, actually, to give the youth an opportunity to share their ideas with us. Now, originally, we intended to have one prize with €1,000, so our budget is a bit lower. But then one thing is to announce the competition, and then you have the proposals that are coming, and we were a bit overwhelmed by the many nice proposals, and we decided to have another prize, a second prize of €500. In addition, actually, with all these, not only with these two prizes, but for all the participants comes the invitation to cooperate with us. So we're very happy, actually, to stay in contact or to start the contact with all of you. We're still a young organization, a flexible organization. We don't have many statutes, and I think it will be easy possible to join us and to stay with us with your ideas. So let me now give the stage to the State Secretary for Federal, European and International Affairs of the State of North Rhine-Westphalia, Dr. Mark Speich, for handing over the certificates. Please, Mr. Speich.
Dear Mr. President, dear Chairman, dear Ms. Ono, dear Professor Rina, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very glad to represent the state of North Rhine-Westphalia in this final session of what I'm sure has been a very exciting conference. And warm greetings to the many international and local partners of the Global Development Network who have made this conference such a success. I'm also very grateful that the organizers didn't attribute to me the part of summarizing the conference in 5 minutes, because I would have been totally lost. So I'm very glad for that part. If you look at the pieces of evidence the chairman mentioned and the realm of political decision, there is a missing link. And the missing link was mentioned by Ms. Ono. It's dissemination, it's communication, and that's exactly what's the heart of that award here. The award ceremony for the International Youth Bloc competition is, from my perspective, a final highlight of the conference. It is also an excellent opportunity to recognize young researchers who are committed to contributing to the development of more effective sustainability strategies through a deeper engagement with policymakers. And I firmly believe that the promotion and collaboration with young researchers who bring new perspectives to the many debates on the pressing challenges are essential to forwarding the international sustainability agenda. Our societies need their ideas, especially in the dynamic and at times turbulent social, economic, and political environment that we face today, and that in part is a euphemism. We in the policy field have the obligation to provide the space in which the exchange of knowledge and expertise with young researchers can thrive, and we do that in many aspects here in Bonn, which clearly for us in the state of North Rhine-Westphalia is the center for the debates, for the academic debates also on sustainability, and will so in the future. We also plan to, well, some new academic developments, but I don't want to bore you with that. It's really the award winners which are at the center of our discussion. The young researchers that we honor today have already proven their creativity, their knowledge, and their inspiration. And therefore, it is a great pleasure for me to announce the winners of the Youth Bloc competition, and I would like to ask them, once I've called their names, to join me here on stage. I think it's not a total surprise by now, at least for those who follow Twitter, but anyway. Our first place winner is Mr. Shivam Gupta. And join me in a round of applause. Please. Mr. Gupta recently joined the staff of the agricultural faculty here at the University of Bonn, so he had no problems with the, well, zero carbon emission travel to the place. He was selected for his excellent blog entitled 5 Ways Digitalization Will Change the Landscape of Sustainable Development. His blog highlights the opportunities that technological advances provide for an inclusive implementation of the 2030 agenda. So, a great congratulations to you and all the best for your future academic work. Our second place winner is Ms. Alejandra Miranda. Join me in it. Ms. Miranda is a PhD student at the University of Minnesota. Her blog entitled Bridging the Gap Between Sustainable Development, Research and Policy addresses the growing relevance of sustainability research, for example, in the fields of poverty eradication and inequality. She provides specific examples of a productive research policy dialogue in this context and points out the many ways that this kind of exchange benefits academia, policymaking, and society as a whole. Congratulations. So I wish you much success in the future, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from you and your research on global sustainability issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Riner. Thank you very much, Mr. Feig. And now it's time for the final award of this ceremony, which is for the best poster. In the exhibition area, you have noticed those beautiful research posters created by young researchers who want to contribute to our deliberation and to receive feedback from you. So the posters are covering a variety of topics, and they're coming from a variety of countries. And this includes Brazil, Colombia, India, Indonesia, Kenya, Nigeria, and many beyond. So you, our conference participants, have voted for the best poster through this app that was made available. And now I'm inviting Ramona Angelescu-Nagvi, whom you all know as the conference director, and who is also the director of strategic partnerships at GDN, to announce the winner. Ramona.
Thank you very much, Francois. I also want to acknowledge, before announcing the winner of the poster competition, the support of the Sparkasse Stiftung for the youth blog competition, which we've just acknowledged. With their support, we will be able to edit and translate in 3 different languages these winning blog posts and publish them over the course of the next weeks. So we're very happy to be able to do that and share these blog posts with our wider community. Now on to the poster. Again, a very quick word on how we got here with the 25 posters that you have seen outside. We had an open call for papers for this conference, and it had a tremendous response. So over 415 applications, and people submitted abstracts, and then those shortlisted submitted full papers. These were evaluated in 2 different stages by external panels of experts. So a very rigorous process of selection. And out of that, 20 papers were invited to be presented here, and you may have seen them in some of the parallel sessions. And 25 of the applicants were invited to prepare posters based on their research and present them here. And indeed, our app and the modern technology allowed us to have your popular vote on the poster that our conference participants liked the most. We don't have a financial prize for this, so it's just a recognition for all the work that has been put into them. During the breaks, they were presented, and the poster authors were interacting with the audience. So there was a lot of passion and excitement. So I think we can even show the results of the vote, drum roll, on the screen. So the winner of the blog post, the one with the most popular votes, as I said, is Karishma Chaudhry, with her poster on blockchain, a game changer in electronic waste management in India. Please stand, Karishma, wherever you are. Please stand. Thank you very much.
Okay, I swear this is the last time that you hear me. Simply now I have to announce the final event. It's not an event, I mean, final speaker of this session and of this conference, who is, of course, Pierre Jacquet, the president of the Global Development Network. Pierre.
Thank you, and thank you very much, François, for guiding us to this closing ceremony. It's terrible to be the last speaker. It's the last barrier between now and the weekend. So I'll be, of course, as brief as possible, but I want to say a few things. First of all, this conference of GDN is GDN's trademark. It's a unique opportunity every year in various parts of the world to assemble a number of researchers, a lot from developing countries, and that gives an opportunity for a unique exchange. And I want to recognize your participation and to welcome all of you in this exchange, and I hope that this exchange will last and will be sustainable over time, and to recognize all the young researchers which have brought a lot to this conference, as they always do. As François mentioned, a main feature of this conference is also the awards, and then Mrs. Ono also explained the Japanese support to this award, which I want to recognize because over the years that has contributed to this trademark of GDN. I want also to send special words of thanks to Mrs. Elena Nkole, who administers the Trust Fund Unit at the World Bank. Because without her help and her guidance over these recent years, it would have been very difficult to implement the awards and to connect them with this unique event of GDN's conference. Now, the thanks, which is a very important part of this conference. I would like first to thank the German ministries under whose auspices we were able to hold this conference back in Bonn after 20 years, or 20 years after GDN was launched in this same country. So I wanted to first to thank the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, BMZ, and especially Michaela Zintel and Peter Kral. Peter is there, and Michaela was there this morning. I'm not sure she's still with us. But, I want also to thank the German Federal Foreign Office for their hospitality and help, both in organizing the conference, in helping with the visas, and that has been a particularly tough organization to maintain, to be able to have all of you in time for this conference, but also for the help that we received in being able to hold the conference in this wonderful place. I would like to thank very warmly the city of Bonn for their hospitality, for opening the conference, as you heard from Mayor Reinhard Limbach, and for a wonderful cocktail party in a beautiful place hosted by Lord Mayor Ashok Sridharan. So big thanks to both of them. I would like to recognize our partners. Without partners, these conferences would not be successful, and we wouldn't be able to help them. But this year, I would really like to recognize their contribution. It has been a pleasure for me, for all the staff of GDN, to work with them. They have done a tremendous job in facilitating, in helping organizing. They have not counted their time to do so. And I must say it has been a great pleasure to work with all of them. So I want to recognize Jörg Faust and his colleagues at the German Institute for Development, DEVAL. I want to thank very much Dirk and his wonderful team at the United Nations Universities Institute for Environment and Human Security. That's long, Dirk. EHS, and I want also to mention that the very idea of this conference started in discussions with Dirk some time ago, and I'm very happy that could get through. I want to thank Jacob Reiner, and his team at the Bonn Alliance for Sustainable Research, Innovation Campus Bonn. It's been a pleasure to work with you. And we, as I hope you notice, we believe in sustainability research, and we hope that it has a great future of inspiring relevant policies. And I want to thank Ime Scholz and her team, especially Eva Linders and others at the German Development Institute, Deutsches Institut für Entwicklungspolitik, DIE. And that was also for us a unique partner. Now, my own staff has also voted for the notion of a conference hero. And I want to thank the team at the World Conference Center Bonn, because they have been particularly effective. And I was told that the conference had a hero, and the hero is Elmar Dick Hagen. And let's thank them very warmly, because this conference has run very smoothly, despite the complexity of rooms and parallel sessions. And well, the only thing that could be improved, but it's not their fault, it's a discipline of being back in time for the plenary sessions. But that's something that all of us professors are used to deal with our students, so it's, I won't complain too much. Last but not least, I would like to thank the staff of the Global Development Network, my staff, and as a president, I'm particularly proud to have such a staff. I mean, it's a unique chance, and I wouldn't trade the staff at any price. Let me first mention them. Of course, Ramona Angelescu-Nakvi, who has very ably directed the conference, and that I know that during our various interactions, the energy that it requires up to the last minutes, and all the conference ninjas that you noticed around with Johnny with a green ribbon, but I'm not a conference ninja, green too, who are sitting in various places and whose dedication and perseverance in the face of various challenges, because it's like policy, managing a conference. So you have unexpected things that arrive at any minute, and even though the organization dealt with ex ante, there are always surprises, and we need a dedicated staff to deal with them, and they did it wonderfully. So warm thanks to all of you. And of course, thank you to all the participants. Please keep a lookout on the website, www.gdn.int, to find again the key messages of the conference, to watch some of the sessions which you cannot attend. And thank you to all participants who come from sometimes from very far away. It has been a pleasure to interact with you during these 3 days, and auf Wiedersehen to you all. Thank you.
I wanted to invite all the finalists of the youth competition. If you could please come to the front, I want to hand out your certificates.